Hi everyone, welcome back to Star Labs Confidential. For today, I have back here my friends Joe Barra and Director Aaron Greer as we talk about Aaron's latest new show, The Watchers. And for any that want to see it, check it out on the streaming service Redeem TV. Thank you both for coming here.
Thanks for having me again, Brian.
Yeah, this is exciting. This is the first podcast interview I've done for the show, so this is an exciting time.
Very nice. So I guess I want to ask you though, Aaron, what inspired you to make this show?
This actually started off as a directing challenge that I just like to give myself every year. So basically, as all of us creatives do, we get that creative itch to just go out and shoot something. So it was actually back in 2018 that I just wrote a quick little short film, and I had met Kevin Porter of Bat the Sun previously at San Diego Comic-Con a few years back, and I was a big fan of his work, and I knew I wanted him in my lead role, and I had a local actor here in Michigan who I really liked to play opposite him, and we shot that short film back in 2018, and we just felt very strongly that there was something more to this. So my initial plan of just, shoot something, put it out in festivals and see what happens there kind of went out the window, and I pressed pause on that. And then during the pandemic, I felt the movement in my spirit to write it out more, and I felt called to do that. And then I wrote the rest of the series, and then it kind of just snowballed from there. And then we got greenlit and got to shoot in 2021.
Very nice. So is this your first time directing a series like this?
Of a project of this size, yes. This is the first project that I directed of this size. I've been in the industry for about 10 years now, running my own production company and worked on commercials, have helped out on other independent feature films in the past in different roles. But this was definitely the biggest challenge that I had taken on in my career up to this point.
Out of curiosity, how do you go through this process to create a show like this? How do you get with the budget and how to distribute something like this?
Yeah, when I started taking the short film idea and expanding it out, creating new characters, creating what's the main plot line. I mean, I basically started off with I have these two guys, and I know what I want that relationship to look like, and I kind of knew the world I wanted to play in. And I'm very much of that generation of grew up on Star Wars, superheroes, comic books, Indiana Jones. I like to make films that have action and visual flair to them. I don't want to, if I'm going to spend time sitting out on a set for 12 hours a day plus in the heat and and having to deal with a lot of different personality types, I want it to be a project that I'm enjoying. It's something I actually want to watch. So I can't write a straight drama if I tried.
Yeah.
So, as I was writing it, we just were fleshing out characters, and I wrote the show with not knowing where the money was going to come from, who our distributing partner was. I had people on my network that I intended to reach out to, but it was really about, I felt like God was moving my heart to write this series, come up with a pitch packet. So that was a big thing that we did, is we had a pitch packet. I hired an artist to do a basic concept poster just to kind of give a sense of the feel of the show. So you put the poster in the pitch packet. We did have the short film that I made, which ended up being in the show itself is based about the first 5 minutes of the pilot episode. So we had that short film, and we actually used that short film in partnership with the pitch packet to send out to distributors and possible financial partners of here's the big picture idea of the show, here's the strategy for the show, here's a little taste of what it will feel like with the actual two actors that we want to cast in these actual roles. So you get a little bit of a sense of the world and kind of the relationships between the two main characters. And we went through a few rejections with some places I thought would be interested in it. And it just so happened that the film college that I work for, in addition to my own work, they had been introduced to a company called the Christian History Institute, which has a production wing called Vision Video. And they had just recently launched their own streaming platform, which was Redeem TV. And it had grown really quickly, where they needed original content immediately. And so the president of the college at the time, he was like, well, if you need original content, we do have a project that we're trying to find a partner for. And they read it through. They liked what they were seeing. You know, we negotiated out how we would co-finance the project, and they would distribute exclusively, and kind of expand it out from there. And we got that contract signed, and that was pretty much how we got the show greenlit and financed, and we had a distribution plan in place. So that's kind of how all that went down. But it definitely came together, not having a specific, like, we're going to talk to this person, they're going to buy it and finance and do all that. Like that, we went through like the traditional pitching process, and, you know, had a few doors shut, but then one opened, and it was kind of green lights all the way, which was a really surreal experience, because that all happened within a whirlwind of like a month period of like initial conversation to deal.
Okay, because that until this series came out, I never heard of Redeemed TV, because, you know, when it comes to streaming, it's usually like Netflix, Hulu, or Amazon.
Yep. Yeah, no, they're in this is, I think, their third, maybe their fourth year of existing. So, but yeah, no, they've been a player in like the faith and family film space for a long time, and their platform has really just been growing at an exponential rate, which has been exciting.
And it's funny that you mentioned like how, like, with the whole superhero things, because when I saw this series, it gave me like a little bit like Thor vibes, and a little bit of the show Lucifer. I don't know if you've seen that one before.
My running joke on this show has been, in terms of like my when people ask me like what was my hope for the show, and I think even Joe heard me mention this at least one time during the show. My joke was, if I could pull 1% of the Lucifer audience and 1% of the Supernatural audience and pull them into our show, we'll be set, because I know both those fan bases are quite huge. So I just want a small percentage of each one of those, and I'm good.
I do remember you saying that, yeah.
Based on the numbers I've been seeing, I think we got a pretty good. We hit that pretty decently.
Yeah, because even in one episode, when we have one of the guys that Kevin Porter's interrogating, he says that like don't pull off a Batman on me.
That was my in joke for the Bat and the Sun people.
Yeah, because Kevin Porter really pulled it off, portraying Michael. Like, it's a little bit different than most of his roles. Like, he definitely has that strong, like, tough guy act, but there's a little humor to it, to his portrayal as well.
Yeah, even when we did the short film, and then even more so with the show, I actually felt that I wanted him to show off a different range and play outside, like play a little bit outside the lines of what he usually does, as, you know, when he plays Batman and a lot of these really serious, intense characters. Like, I wanted to give him more dramatic moments to play, and, you know, really just show what I already knew, was that he's this really strong actor, really great at these character emotional moments. And so I wanted to give those moments for him to really sink his teeth into. And actually I very rarely had to like correct or readjust what he was doing performance-wise. Like, if anything, the most common direction I had to sometimes give him was like, okay, that's too much Batman, like pull it back away from the bat, like, because that he naturally can feel comfortable sliding into like a very Batman kind of approach. So that was one of the few things I ever had to adjust with him, is if I felt like he was getting too much into that realm, because I didn't want it to come across like, oh, it's just Kevin playing a different shade of a Batman alliteration. So it's like, let's keep it away from that, so that way it feels different. And I think that was one of the exciting things about him playing Michael. Yeah,
that's the other thing. Like, when it came to like when you did the scene where they're playing the chess game, like what was your inspiration for that?
That again goes back to the original short film idea I had, which dated back even years before that. Even I think I had that original idea back in film school, of just the idea of the Archangel Michael playing a game of chess against his brother, the Devil. And, you know, it's not, you know, the chess game is not just a chess game. It's much more than that. You know, it's all about the subtext. And that had always been an idea I wanted to do. And I finally just wrote the short film for that, and just kind of carried through all the way to the show.
Yeah, because I never played the games, but it made me think of I think it was the opening for Kingdom Hearts 3, where like you see the light and dark characters like basically playing like a chessboard set. Like, they're not bad guys yet, but through the chessboard you see like the sequence of the story from the previous games building up to like this latest one.
Okay. Yep, no, my wife is the Kingdom Hearts game player. I am not, so I'll take your word for it.
So I guess throughout the series, like, what was your favorite scene, I guess, for both of you to like act and or shoot?
I'll let Joe take that one first.
For me, I think definitely my favorite scene to shoot was the fight in the woods. Because I grew up doing stunts first. I'm a black belt in jiu-jitsu. So when I was reading the character, after I booked the part, Aaron told me that there's a fight scene, and which luckily I'm like, yes, I can't wait. And especially that I get to go up against my mentor in life. And, you know, in the show, I get to go up against Kevin Porter. So that was so much fun. You know, just us in the woods fighting. And then, you know, looking around, I take a step back. And I'm just seeing all these moving by. I see Aaron being the director. I see Kevin staying in his zone. I'm trying to stay in my zone too, because it's hard once you leave that headspace to get back in the character. But take a step back and just realize how blessed and grateful you are to be in that position. And that moment always stands out to me. So definitely that fight in the woods for me.
Yes. And if you've seen that episode, Brian, the shot where Joe gets hit, that's not a added sound effect. That is the actual accidental strike.
Yeah, so there's a part in the woods when we're fighting. I'm doing a couple swings at Kevin. He's dodging, and then he blocks one of my punches, and then he punches me in the face, and I fall to the ground. Normally in stunts, you know, you go like this far, but of course it was the last take, as it always is, and Kevin goes for the punch, only, you know, after being fatigued, he connected full force. Wow. Right to my nose. But you know, again, it's your job as the actor. You do not break, because literally as soon as I hit the ground, the first thing on my mind was, I'm like, this is probably gonna be the best take. Do not break, do not break, do not break. Then I heard cut, and I stand up, and I'm like, was that great? Was that good? My nose is gushing blood.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And all we see is just this, and yeah. our medical specialist runs right in, is like clogging up his nose, and Kevin's like, we're all kind of frozen, because like all we hear is like this smack, like, and you can tell all the crew were like frozen, like, oh no.
Everybody stopped.
Yeah, you took it in great stride, and I told my editor straight away, and he was up at that HQ. It's like, use the last take. I don't care. Use the last take.
Yes, and I'm so glad they did. I'm so glad that they did, because yes, that was, as I watched playback of every one, definitely that was the best take. But, you know, also, like, it's just, again, it's your job as the actor. Stuff happens, you know, we're all not perfect. And, you know, Kevin could not have apologized enough. But the first thing you have to do is, one, stay in the moment. You never, ever break, because if I would have gotten off the ground immediately, like, oh my gosh, he hit my face, hold on, cut, would have ruined that last take. But also, the second that happened, I stood up and the medic was on me. I told them, like, guys, film. Aaron, you may remember this or not. My guys, film whatever you have to do. Now, I should be like 5-10 minutes, and then I'll be right back to it. And they did. They ended up filming my other two, what would you call them, lackeys or goons, fighting with Kevin. Yes, yeah. They filmed my other mercs and Kevin fighting for like the next 15 minutes. And then my nose was, luckily there was no damage. The blood stopped. We were ready to go. And I'm like, all right, cool. Let's keep going. What's next? And that's also another reason why it's my favorite day, because, you know, just adds to the story.
Very nice. Yeah, because I saw that scene. Like, I could definitely tell which ones were like added sound effects, but that last one, I wasn't sure if that was like, you know, real or not. But like, wow.
Well, now you know. It is real. It is.
In any way, shape, or form, except for some.
That is the sound of Kevin's fist making full contact with my nose.
God.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
yeah. So the question was, what was the favorite scene to film?
Yeah.
Ooh. Oh boy. Favorite scene to film? It's probably a close tie for me. Probably my two favorite scenes were in episode 7, where Kevin has the heart-to-heart with the pop star, and you know, we just did it in 2 close-ups, and we really got both Kevin and our actress Sophie really got to just go to a really deep emotional raw level, and the take we used to Kevin, like Kevin almost breaks, like he's like a hair's breadth of breaking, which he never breaks. But he was so invested in the moment. She was in the best in the moment. Even when the camera wasn't on her, she was giving Kevin 100%. He was giving her 100%. And like, I knew after that take, like Kevin had no more takes in him. Like he threw everything into that take, which is the take that's in the episode. And you can feel it. I think it's probably some of the best acting I've ever seen Kevin do. And I jokingly told Kevin, it's like, oh, I've been watching your stuff ever since you put the Batman suit on him in like the first Bat in the Sun production. He's like, you've seen that? I'm like, oh yeah, I've seen that. I've been following those guys from like the get-go. So, you know, it was interesting. It was really fun to see that because I always love those moments as a director when it's just, you just get in a nice tight close up and you let actors do what they're great at, which is perform, to dig emotion out and pull something out, and that it's just magical. And there's no magic trick to it. It's just human beings being in a moment. And I think between Kevin and Sylvie, that's a really special moment. Just also based on like the relationship I had built up with Kevin and that trust I had with him and Sophie going into that moment. And that was a moment that I was really proud of. And then the other one is the rain scene in our episode 8 season finale between Kevin and Sierra Foster. And that was like literally one of the last things we shot on our last day. We were very much under a time crunch under the gun. And again, it was one of those times where it's like actors just being amazing, you know, and that was one, and what's special about that is it's kind of like the emotional climax of the show. We had kind of been building up to that moment. It was one of the first scenes that I originally wrote, that I had in my head when I first started writing the series. So it kind of held a special place for me, just because I'd done so many versions of it. And so to see that come alive, that was also really special. And I know that's Kevin's favorite scene in the entire show as well. It's just really strong, and you can feel the electricity in the scene. It's really strong. So those are probably my 2 favorite scenes. Although I will say I didn't really get to hear much of the dialogue in that scene in the rain because I was off in my little hoodie around the corner playing security with the rain dunking on me. So I was a drowned cat by the time I came back around to monitor to see what was going on and watch play back.
Yeah, that was a pretty good fight scene, and I gotta say my other favorite scenes are definitely with I guess with the little Sophie arc, because I liked how she would keep hearing like the voices of like how to like, you know, to continue like to doubt herself, to keep drinking and just like giving up. It was just very, very unique, and to see like Kevin break down like this role again is very interesting because like he's trying to be something he's that's not usually his strength. He's usually just like the warrior type, not the more like healing and consoling type.
Yeah. Well, I think it's it's definitely like, I think it's just not a side of his acting that he gets to show off as much, which is one of the reasons why I wanted him to play the parts, because like I knew he was capable of it, you know, but you know, it's somewhere we push it. And you know, probably one of the biggest challenges of writing his character is, you know, he is playing an angel. How do you write in conflict for an angel? He can't like, you know, there's certain things I feel like within the rules of the world that I created, like there's certain things he can and cannot do. So, but you know, overall he can't go like pure evil. So how do you show doubt? How do you show struggle with him so he's still relatable? That was probably one of the trickiest things about writing his character, is how do you build in struggle where it's something that the audience can connect to. And sometimes it's how he reacts to the human characters around him, which is always one of the fun things, is seeing how he bounces off other characters in the show.
Yeah, because kind of going back to the superhero thing, it kind of reminds me of the first Thor movie where he is depowered and everything and living on Earth for a while. It's kind of like that, but if it lasted like longer than just for like a few days.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So for any plans for season 2?
Well, season 2 is written. You know, just every once in a while I get a different idea that I want to go back and touch it up. So, the scripts are constantly evolving. I'm hoping to actually have some meetings with our distributing partner to start discussing, budget and production schedule. And ideally, I'm hoping that we get the green light to shoot sometime early next year is kind of my goal. That's what I'm pushing for. And season 2 is very ambitious. It's very exciting. We definitely upped the ante. When I originally pitched the show, I had for sure 3 seasons planned out. And the way I always approached it was, season 1 is very local based. Season 2 goes national. Season 3 goes international in terms of how the story kind of expands out and the stakes that get raised. And we definitely have a lot of interesting twists and turns with the characters. Kevin's character Michael goes through a really amazing arc. Like, I'm really excited for the character arc and journey he goes through. We got a lot more fun things for Joe to do and say.
Yes, I'm very excited. I've been blessed to have the privilege of Aaron sending me the scripts. Like, hey, don't tell anybody what you're about to read, but I'm not gonna send you the script. Yep. So I'm not going to reveal. I'm not going to reveal anything.
He has an inkling of what we're doing.
Yes, but from what I read, I was like, Aaron, get the green light, man. I'm very excited. I'm ready. I'm prepared. It's definitely, it is ambitious, but that's a good thing. You have to be ambitious. And even doing the first season is an ambitious thing. And here they are. Not only did they do it, but they did it in grand fashion. So yeah, season 2, when that happens, that's how I like to speak. When that happens, it's going to be, you can't, non-comparable to season 1 of how much bigger it's going to be.
Yeah, no, the ante definitely gets raised, and yeah, it's kind of I have the same mentality. It's like when we make season 2, it's going to be quite exciting. It's going to be very fun to make. Like, I'm very excited to just get on this up for season 2, just because we have so many fun, exciting things planned.
Yeah, and I'm so glad that my character gets redemption. I still hate that I ran away. I didn't like that.
Yeah, you definitely you get to have more of a presence.
Yes, and I get to redeem myself. That's all I care about.
Oh, spoilers.
Well, redeem.
That's all I'll say.
Redeem and still on the evil side. What does redeem?
Oh yeah, still doing my thing, but I mean, at least that's not the last time you've seen me. Let's put it that way. Is turning tail.
Okay, so I guess you'll kind of be like changing sides constantly, kind of character.
I'm
not gonna say anything.
Yeah, I will say
Yeah.
He's definitely committed to being a bad guy. But
I loved it. It was so much fun.
he plays it, but he definitely, like, within the back. I guess I'll give one little thing that we are going to be doing in season 2 is we kind of introduce a rival to our Sam character. I always find that interesting. Like, even when you got your top bad guy, that is always going to be the top bad guy. But what if somebody tries to replace? And so we do explore what that looks like. And that character that we introduce, who's trying to basically take the devil's spot as the number 1 baddie, very much takes an interest in Joe's character and, gives Joe a vision of greatness that he really likes.
Okay, yeah, because I definitely want to see more of, like, these angel halflings or hybrids. I forgot what they were called exactly.
Half-breeds.
Yep, half-breeds. The official, they've if you do like any kind of like religious research, they're often called Nephilim. Is a common category that they're classified as.
Okay, Nephilim. That's an interesting word.
Yeah, I think that goes back to like ancient Roman Catholic Church writings and scholarly papers. Yeah, like the research I had to do, I probably did way more research when I was originally writing this show than I probably had to, but I wanted to have some fact-based concepts, or at least have something that I can connect it to, like documentation or research that's been done, or ideas that are out there. So that way I wasn't like, just coming out of the blue with like absolutely like absurdity.
Yeah. It's good to keep it more exciting by adding other players to the game, I guess, so to speak.
Oh yes, there are many, many more players coming in, and hopefully those will come in the form of some exciting guest stars that we are hopefully going to talk to soon.
Mm-hmm.
Especially to see if there's going to be any new love interest for Michael.
It's tricky. It's a tricky thing to write a love angle for an angel. It was tricky in season 1, and it'll probably be even more tricky and complicated in season 2.
Yeah, because the actress that played wow, I forgot her name.
S.T.A.R.
Oh, yes, S.T.A.R. That worked with Sam. Like, I definitely liked her character arc where she was fully on board with working for Sam, but then as scenes grew more intense, I guess she had doubts.
Mm-hmm. Yep, definitely a questioning of decisions.
That's another thing. Like, will we see any other like ancient weapons that can kill like angels or at least harm the divine?
Well, I mean, we do drop a little bit of a hint of what's to come and the very last shot of season 1 with what's in the book and what Sam says, what Sam's last line of the show is. That's probably the best hint I can give.
Yeah, that's why I'm not going to say anything. I don't want to accidentally say something.
I'm more prone to probably give something away than you are.
Yeah, not a problem. Like, this show is definitely taking like some familiar tropes, but I like that it has a more with religion-based focus here about redemption, able to turn your life around. Like for Sophie, how she was so doubtful of herself. It looks like she has a purpose, which I figure will come later on in seasons 2 or 3. So.
Yeah, no, that's actually probably one of the big storylines that we continue in season 2. And a lot of that comes out of my desire to stuff that I wasn't allowed to put into the first season 1. Part of that storyline, I was asked to remove it or hold back on it. And so I was like, okay, well, I'm going to save this for season 2 then, so we have the time to properly tell the story in the right way. Because that story is actually very personal, and because a lot of that is based on people in my life who have gone through some of those things. So that's why that story carries so much personal meaning to me. And the thing I want to do in season 2 with her storyline, which I'm very much looking forward to, is I feel like so many movies and shows like this, they kind of stop at the moment that the Amelia character got to in season 1. It's like, okay, I saw the light, I'm changing, great. Roll credits, and you never know. The story never goes beyond that. And the big thing that I'm trying to do with our show is like, you know, we have this constant theme of spiritual battle, spiritual warfare. It does not stop once you've just kind of like joined the good team. It keeps going. If anything, it actually intensifies because now you've got a big, you know, sniper dot on your forehead. Yep. And the attacks get more intense because now you are very visible, and you know you're constantly being forces are trying to constantly trip you up and make you stumble. And so with her character, I want to show what is it like once you've made that decision, what's now the struggles that come afterwards, because it's not a happy ending all the time. You know, it often is very difficult, especially when you are making such a dramatic change. So I want to show, we're going to explore that and see kind of the impact it has on her emotionally, mentally, you know, and it does, and it brings up, and it continues to bring up more things that are things that she's never addressed or dealt with that she's now got to confront head on.
That's the thing I love. I remember reading the script about season 2. The one thing I told Aaron was like, you know, and he's right, like whenever you see something on TV or in the media, it's like, oh, you choose to be good, you know, you choose to be very faithful and spiritual. All you see is, cool, happy ending, that's it. Yeah, now you're saved, you're good. But yeah, they never show what happens afterwards. And in most cases, in all cases, what happens afterwards is you're tempted to always go back. It's not like your problems are just solved. So the one thing I saw about season 2 is that it's very relatable and very real to anybody who's, you know, trying to like, you know, change maybe their looks on life, maybe up like their spirituality or up their faith. It's going to show them like, yes, you can do that, and you should. We all should. But it's not going to be as easy as you think. It's not like as soon as you make that decision, everything's going to be great. There's going to be different kinds of struggles.
Yeah, like this. You got the old struggles and you got the new ones that come with that lifestyle choice. And what happens when you're caught in the middle of it? And like I said, I firmly believe that it only intensifies.
Guess the dog has something to say too.
All right, I got a yappy dog.
But yeah, I see it even with the preacher, how like before Michael talked to him, he was having some struggles. And I figure even though he's now has reassurance in his faith, he's going to probably have some struggles in later episodes.
And which character is that?
One of the preachers that you introduced her.
Oh yeah, the pastor.
The pastor.
The Tom Cullen character. Yeah, no, he's definitely got a bigger role to play in season 2. He kind of is the center point of the spiritual revival movement that's happening in the world of our show. And, you know, once you start saying very bold things, you get pushback not just from one side but both sides. But even within the religious community, you'll get pushback if you're saying things that are controversial or things that people don't always want to talk about in the church, and that's kind of where I want to go with it. I very much modeled his character after the Apostle Paul, of he is a very religious person, but it's only after his transformation that he becomes very bold, speaks truth to power. Doesn't matter who that power is. It could be he speaks truth to emperors, and he also calls out some of the top disciples. I mean, there's famous section in scripture where he calls out Peter and says, you got it wrong. You misinterpreted this. And at the time, Peter's the most revered leader in the church at that point. So I mean, he goes toe to toe with those guys and points out, this isn't you're misinterpreting this. We got to be more open-minded. So that's very much the role that the pastor kind of starts to play in season 2, as he kind of steps up to that national stage. He's now a national voice in that conversation, and and his presence gets greatly felt throughout the entire show.
Definitely, I imagine he's gonna be fighting some heavy battles later on. Now, as far as for shooting, most of it was most of the scenes you shot were on location, but was there anything shot through green screen?
The opening scene in heaven, that was shot against on our soundstage over at Compass College of Film and Media, which was one of our financial partners, and they provide a lot of the equipment. We have a white cyc wall that we shot those scenes as a backdrop, but besides that, pretty much everything else was shot on location or at local industries that were willing to donate their space to us.
I was gonna say, everything I saw, I mean, granted I was only out there little over a week of filming, but everything I saw was on location, very practical, and that was the one thing I loved. I'm like, yes, things you can interact with. I love interacting with the environment and stuff. So yeah, that was one thing I noticed, and I was very impressed with.
Yeah, I would say, pretty much except for that opening shot, everything else is on a location of some sort.
Do you think we might get a flashback episode, or at least a flashback to maybe more expansion on that opening scene?
There is a scene written in season 2 that does show a little bit more of that. It's kind of where there's actually dialogue. I know in the opening we just had the voiceover narration and very quick glances, so we do have an actual scene taking place in there. My hope is to keep it in the final version of the script that we'll shoot. It might not be right now. It's how we open up season 2, but it might get, for narrative purposes, it might get shuffled around to a different episode. So my intention is to shoot it. Whether it makes the cut or not, I'm not sure, but yeah, we will see a little bit more of that.
Okay. It's interesting to see what exactly happened in your version as to what happened with the fall of Sam and essentially with Michael to Earth.
Yeah, we do dig into that a little bit more.
Gotcha. So, any other projects that you both are working on right now?
Let me see. I think I can talk about this now. Yeah, because it's on IMDb. I recently did a feature film with Ted Raimi called Failure, in which it's actually, they were very ambitious and they did it. We shot the entire film in one take. That should be actually coming out later this year, I believe I heard, or possibly early next year. Not much post-work to do on that, but I did a feature film with that. I've been really busy doing lots of voiceover stuff. I've been blessed for that. And then I have a couple projects that I'm potentially on hold for.
Very nice. And you are is your work mostly on The Watchers for now, or do you have other projects?
Yeah, no, I'm in full development, pre-production phase on getting season 2 as ready as I can. So when we get that green light, it's going to be a lot of phone calls to Joe and Kevin and everyone else and say, well, here's our schedule. We're good to go. Clear your schedule. Get a plane ticket. Here you go. So that train never stops. I always try to keep my foot on the gas pedal with that. I am actually going to Israel at the end of September for 2 weeks to shoot a teaching series with a pastor friend of mine. So got that going on. And then I'm actually, hopefully probably in September, I'm releasing a collection of short films that my production company has done over the years. So they're going to be coming out on a different streaming service, and it's going to be like a collection of like 5 or 6 short films that we've put together. And it's just going to kind of be a nice little bundle package. Besides that, because that's just so little that I'm doing. I'm so slow. Those are probably the 3 highlights that are happening right now.
All right, very nice. Do you think Tel Aviv will be like one of the places you're hoping to shoot for season 3?
Oh, I would love for us to do some international travel. I don't know necessarily where internationally we would actually try to go on location. Again, it kind of depends on what kind of budget level we get. I would love to actually do some on location filming for wherever season 3 takes us. I haven't yet been planning out the major plot points of season 3 yet. I'm hoping to do that over the holidays and kind of get a basic idea of where we go from there. But you never know. I always just start kind of jotting ideas down and start writing, and then you just kind of, you don't think about, do I have the money to do this? You just kind of write the story first, and then you adjust for the business afterwards.
Right. Gotcha. All right. Well, I think that's our time for today. Thank you both for coming here for today's podcast.
Thanks for having us, Brian.
Yeah, it was a great time. Great conversation. Always good seeing you and hearing from Joe.
Always a pleasure, Aaron. Yes.
Yep. And here's hoping that we get to see season 2 coming out, hopefully within, what do you think, like next year or so?
If we shoot it next year, probably like we would maybe make a play for the 2023 holidays, but maybe like early 2024 would be probably realistic in terms of what kind of post-production process we'd be looking at.
All right, that sounds good. All right, and thank you all you viewers for tuning in for today's podcast. See you next time. Hey folks, if you want to check out The Watchers yourself, subscribe to the streaming service Redeem TV. Best part about this service, it comes free of charge. No monthly or yearly payments. Also, be sure to like and subscribe to this channel for more content. This is BD Knight, signing off.